my Father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. I found the strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. I used to be frightened, I'm not afraid no more. The Father blessed me with the heart of a lion and a warrior soul. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail. And no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer, conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer, conquer them.
Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David turns Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people to go meet it up, pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it
So
up.
no weapon that form against I shall not prevail. And no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer, conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer, conquer them.
Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. You're everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to feel. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of love. Send down your warriors with the hello. They carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming. I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we is myself?
No weapon that form against I shall not prevail. And no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer, conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer, conquer them.
I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada.
Imagine
a very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Round Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the Facebook Live and on the YouTube Live. And for those of you, of course, joining us on Instagram, a very special good morning to you as well. In studio with me this morning, I have none other than Mr. Bola. I know it's been a while since he's been here with me, so I know he wants to say good morning to the people.
Good morning to you, Ms. Duncan. It's always a pleasure being in studio with you, even though I have to keep my social distance. Yes, go up a little bit more.
Far away.
I was 6.5 feet a while ago, but you came down about a half a foot. So, good morning, listeners. It's a pleasure. I'll be here for just a very short while, but it's always good to share a little bit of information and to keep you in the know. Thank you for listening to Hard Talk and for trusting the program that brings you relevant information that is truthful and reliable.
Absolutely. And of course, Mr. Bola, we have an interview coming up today. It's actually going to be a very packed week, a very informative week. So for those of you who are wondering, especially your small business owners and so on, you're wondering where to go from here, with us in studio, well, not in studio, she'll be calling in. We have Mrs. Carla Haywood, the PR, External Relations Officer of the Small Business Development Fund of the Grenada Development Bank. So she will be calling in and giving us an insight on what's available for small business owners in Grenada. Of course, now you know that we all know that they have been ravaged by the coronavirus, and the protocols that have been implemented as a result of the virus has really affected them. And of course, the government has put plans in place to ensure that they are not so badly affected, or at least they can cushion the effects of the virus. So she'll be calling in at about 11:15 to speak with us and let us know what's available. So all of the small business owners, if you know any small business owners as well, you can give them a call, tell them to tune in so that they can speak with us. We will not be able to take calls because she'll be calling in on the direct line, but of course you can post your comments to the chat box on the WhatsApp, of course WhatsApp as well, but on the Facebook page, and we will be more than happy to post or pose those questions to her to get some clarification. So Mr. Bola, how have you been? How has life been for you on lockdown?
Pretty natural. Lockdown is nothing new to me. I have experience. I'm old enough to remember the days after the fall of the PRG government when we were on curfew. It was different then. I was still a youngster, much more energetic than I am now. So then I could have run away when you hear a police van coming. These days I have to stay inside because I can't do much running and I don't like to be chased by the police. But generally, I have been obeying the protocols. I have been encouraging people to do likewise, my friends, my neighbors, relatives. And to a certain extent, here and there, you do find a few lawbreakers. Oftentimes happen in most jurisdiction, you will find it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make it correct anyway. Mm-hmm. But I believe by and large the Grenadian society, the Grenadian public and citizenry have been following, have been listening. I mean, there are the bit of fake news, as we call it here and there, some propaganda, some untruths that will show up on the platforms, where be it WhatsApp, Facebook, wherever. Mm-hmm. And so many of our people rely on those things for their daily news, the daily supply of information, and they don't always tune into programs like this or the other governmental programs where they can get the real facts. Yeah. So these things are set aside. I think that, we must give high praise to the government in general, all of the ministers, and first and foremost the Prime Minister, who would have handled this whole COVID attack on our nation in a very sensible way. And we have to highlight the Minister of Health and his team. The first responders, the COVID-19 coordinator, Dr. Martin and the rest of those, and Kevin and the people who were there up front, giving information way before we had our first case. And I can recall on this very program we have been saying time and time again, let us listen to the authorities and follow what they are telling us. And there was a lot of talk and noise about what the Prime Minister should do and shouldn't do, and I keep saying, or I kept, because it's past tense, saying that leadership and taking charge is not about noise. It's about being sensible. It's about assessing where we are heading, and what are the decisions you must take. And so we saw when the time came for action, relevant action, it was taken. So we want to really commend, whether you're are a supporter or not, whether you like Dr. Mitchell and the NNP or not, you have to admit and agree that they did excellent work.
Absolutely.
Yes? And so they deserve every ounce of praise and support. And we are not out of the woods yet. It's not over as yet. The numbers, yes, they are struggling on. It's not big numbers. We're not seeing 20 and 30 per day, but every 7-8 days there's another case. It's from what I'm gathering, what I'm hearing, it's kind of contained to one area. It is workers from a particular workplace who might have been exposed, and it's bad, but good in terms that it's not widespread throughout the nation. And I believe if all of us obey the protocols. I mean, there's a lot of, as the police says, easement. There's a lot of leeway. Yes, we are on lockdown, but there's so many days, 3, sometimes 4 days out of a 7-day week, when we can venture out to do shopping, to get little bits and pieces that we need, to pay a bill. I mean, there's a lot. All we need to do is keep our physical distance one from the other when we are in the line, in the supermarket, when we're going to pay the bill, when we're going to collect from Western Union or wherever. Keep that physical distance, which they ask us, 6 feet or more. Yes? Keep a mask on. In fact, it's a regulation now that once you're out in public, you must be wearing a mask. I know it's uncomfortable. I'm wearing mine now because I'm going to keep my distance from Ms. Duncan, and I'm going to keep my mask on as long as I'm here. You know? So if we practice those things, washing of the hands, oftentimes you come from the public, you have touched different surfaces, don't put your hands in your eyes, your mouth or your nose, don't touch your face, wash it, use hand sanitizer if you can't find soap and water. Those basic and simple things which has been repeated time and time and time again, by now should be stuck in our head like how we learned the ABC when we were toddlers. Yes? Wash hands regularly, use hand sanitizers, stay away, don't touch surfaces, don't put your hands in your face, keep our physical distance from each other, wear our mask, which is a fairly recent one, because in the beginning they were saying the mask is not absolutely necessary. Now they said it's a must. And the reason being, as we have said in the past, and we're going to repeat now, is because this virus is still very much new, very much unknown. And as the days and weeks pass and medical professionals interact with it, and the people who have contracted it, they are learning. So it's a learning experience as they work trying to save lives. Yes?
Yeah.
And so as they find new things about it, as they learn new things, they pass it on. And we in turn try to educate our people.
Yep.
So it's nothing about, oh, well, the government wicked or why they're locking down. Because mind you, we have a lot of people saying, let's lock down. Totally. Without even thinking, look, as I've said before, Grenada is a net input country. Most of what we consume we input. And there's a lot of talk, and rightfully so, people feel that our farmers and the farming community should be able to allow us to survive. Won't happen. For many reasons. One, we do not have a consistent supply of farm produce. But secondly, as a people, we are not in tune and in touch with that. We have a preference for what is foreign than what is local. Because even now, you see farmers, I mean, there's loads of watermelon on the market. One, the farmers may have to, if they have not done that yet, I'm not sure, because I have not purchased, because I have a few farm friends who afforded me a watermelon and honeydew and cantaloupe and what have you. So I did not have to purchase as yet. But I hope the farmers recognize the times we are living in, and so cut the profit margin by reducing the price so they can get it out quicker.
Yeah.
But also I'm appealing to the Grenadian public. You've been calling for a day for the farmers and their support. Support the farmers by purchasing what's local. The same watermelon, the same cantaloupe can be juiced, can be made into punch. So you don't have to go to the shop to buy what you call those things, those little packets of stuff.
Gulp and Gully.
Gulp and Gully and so on. I'm not bad talking anything. I don't buy them, so I don't remember the name. Let us utilize the local. There's a lot of Swiss orange, Ghost Po, and these things are wrong for now. They're kind of getting out, but let's use them in this time so that we keep the little money that we generate into circulation in the country.
But you're correct, because the lines on the supermarket continue to be very long. But when the farmers set up the lines, they are not long.
Not at all.
So it does go to show that even though we are clamoring for leniency for the farmers and clamoring for more support to be given to agriculture from the government, we ourselves as Grenadians need to understand that a big chunk of that responsibility is ours.
Yes.
It is ours.
And it has been that way for ages. Yes. And I challenge many people, because we can, on this program, we can communicate with the Ministry of Agriculture and we can get the figures year by year, what kinds of monies has been budgeted, one, but secondly, what's the actual amounts that have been spent.
Yeah.
And the areas in which, whether it is in plowing, in fertilizer, subsidy, in what, let us get those figures and let's put it out there in the public. The corresponding side, the other side of the coin should be how much we as local people have been supporting the farmers in terms of purchasing those products. So we make a lot of noise because government. So government have to provide in the stimulus package for all the unemployed people. So whether you are employed as a public servant or not, government must give them. Even the busmen, and I understand that quite a number of them have received their checks of 800, and they should be getting another check at the end of this month again. And so I haven't gotten anything, and I don't think I ever will. I don't know who could fit me in. Remember, Bola is here. I'm old and grey, walking with my stick now. Please remember me. But even if I doesn't get it, wouldn't stop me from doing what I have to do. The fact is, we must recognize, and it's one of the constant theme about the COVID-19 is that we are in this thing together, right? To build and rebuild this country, we have to do it together. For our farmers to progress and move forward, we have to do it together. For us to fight the COVID-19 virus, we have to do it together. For the government to be able to continue with the stimulus package and to help, it must be done together. The NIS giving unemployment benefit is together. So there is no single person, there is no separation, there is no political lines to be drawn. It's Grenada and Grenadians. And all of us must do our part. At the end of the day, like I always say, the time is going to come when an election will be called, and every one of us will have to make a decision. We'll have to make a judgment based on a number of factors, which way we go, whom we support, who is best to run country. But now is not the time. We can keep our records. We can have our little book. We can mark down the mistakes, the misdemeanors, the things that did not go to right, the things also that went right. Because we must make a comparison at the end of the day. So we must not be one-sided in the way we look at things and the way we think. So don't only take notes of the side that did not work to right. Also correspondingly take note of what went well. And then we make our decisions based on the good and the bad, the good looking, the not so good looking, and all those things, right? Up, down, not so. We look at it and we determine. But I just want to appeal wholeheartedly to Grenadians. In general, we have been good. We have been obeying. We have been keeping, staying inside, keeping our distances every now and again. I heard last time the police had to pick up some people in Woburn on the beach partying.
Not on the beach. I think it was in a building.
In a building. Somebody tell me on the beach.
DJ
and all them kind of something. The time is not for that now. You see, if we obey and we do what we are supposed, we'll have more than enough opportunity down the line. I can't say if it's 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, or 1 year from now. But if we sustain and preserve our lives and the livelihood of others, we'll have more than enough time and opportunity to DJ, to dance, to drink a little alcohol and eat good food. But let's respect. So outside of these sporadic events where people want to go on the beach still and cook, they want to do a happy hour for a funeral and these things, which should not be. Generally, I say kudos to Grenadians. Generally, I say kudos to the people. You have been obeying, you have been doing well, you're still fighting to go in lines to pay your bills, rubbing up on one another back, and the police constantly have to be getting in to get you to keep your distance. But let's practice what we are asked to do. Let's obey for once. Let's be like good students and listen to the experts who knows better. And I believe at the end of the day, at the end of the time, no government doesn't want to keep this thing longer than it should. The government doesn't want to keep the lockdown longer than it should. As a matter of fact, you're seeing week by week, they're allowing more and more places to open up. Yes? But we have to give the confidence to those in authority, the health officials, the police officers, the government ministers, and the prime minister. We must show them that we are ready as a people. We are mature and disciplined enough to obey physical distancing, to wear our face masks, to not wanting to congregate as a thing. In the beginning, they said no alcohol. Now there is that say you can purchase it but go home. See, guys still want to lime out on the block and sit down by the shop. For now, you can't do it. So you buy your quarter or you have bottle, go home. You buy your couple beers, go home. Yeah. This is what the law says. Stay within the confines of your fencing, of your, your property, so we don't spread this virus. And let me just touch on that before I allow you to come in again, Ms. Duncan. 2 or 3 press conferences ago, the minister made a point, and I didn't realize that until he made the point, that from the number of positive cases that we have received or seen, tested positive, gone, there were about 4 individuals, he said, who had shown up until the time some of them were cleared of the virus, absolutely no signs or symptoms. Yeah. So they didn't have a cough, they didn't have a fever, they didn't have headache, they weren't sneezing, but they were tested positive. So there you are. We do not know. I could be looking as good as I am, healthy as I am now, and I'm looking good. Yeah? I can tell all you that. Duncan told me so this morning. But I have the virus. I don't know. Because for some of us, for some people, the immune system or whatever the reason has been good enough that it doesn't allow you to show up any signs. So hence the reason we cannot take chance and say, well, I know my neighbor, Miss Jane, she didn't go nowhere. She had nothing, so I could always go and sit down in the veranda and talk with her and I don't have to wear a mask because she don't have anything or I don't have anything. We don't know because we could be carrying, and I think they refer to these people as asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic, yeah.
Asymptomatic, yes. They carry the virus, they can spread the virus to you, but they show no signs. And no fault of theirs because they don't know. And you don't know. Because there's no sleepy eyes, they're running water in their eyes, they're not feverish, nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're normal and good-looking, healthy people, but carrying the virus and spreading it. So it is in your interest to continue to wear your mask. It is in their interest to continue to wear their mask. It is also in your interest to encourage them to wear their mask and to follow the protocols and keep the distances, Ms. Duncan.
All right. Well, that was definitely a mouthful. You know, something that I take into consideration, I had a conversation with a bus driver on Saturday, quite heated because I couldn't understand where he was coming from. Of course, I always give everybody an opportunity to speak, and we try to reason with each other. We may not agree all of the time, and that's okay because the call ended with us agreeing to disagree. Okay. But he wanted to know why buses could not run. I mean, businesses were slowly opening and so on. And I said to him that it is important sometimes to understand that we must save people from themselves. And that is a very true statement in this specific situation, saving people from themselves. So, for example, you allow buses to run as they would have done in the very beginning and on the onset of the lockdown and so on. They allowed some buses to run with restrictions of 5 persons sitting in a staggered position, all of that, all to decrease the spread of the virus. And what they noticed happening is that people were not listening. The bus owners themselves were not adhering to the regulations because, let's be honest, these people, or most of them, are in the business of making money. It is the responsibility of the passengers to say, well, I am not going to get onto that bus because they are not following the protocols. But also it is in the interest of people to get to where they need to go. So you'd find situations where you have to save people from themselves because they will not make the right decision that will protect their health and safety. And I mean, he was arguing about, well, why don't we have, look, there's nobody dying and we've only had X amount of infection so far. And why do you think that is? I said, I know exactly why that is. That is because the restrictions were put in place in such a timely fashion that our elderly and sick people were already protected even before the detection of the first case. So we have to look at it from that point of view, and we have to take that into consideration, that people must be protected from themselves. Why we can't go on the beach? I know everybody wants to go on the beach, but as soon as you open the beach, you'd find people who don't have to go to work, people who are not required to work. All of a sudden, the children who don't have to go to school and go to college and go to university find they didn't see their friends in a long time, so they want to have a beach party, which is evident in St. Lucia,
Yes.
where they would have where they had shut down, cleared of all cases. Then 2 cases came up. Now over the weekend they had to arrest some 20-something or 30-something people for having a river party, a river lime. So you have to protect people from themselves. It is absolutely necessary. We may not agree with the lockdown. We may not agree with all of the protocols and the policies that that come with it. But we have to understand that everybody is not going to be responsible. I may be responsible. You, Mr. Bola, will be responsible. But at the same time, everybody wouldn't be responsible. And you have to look at it from that context.
Absolutely correct. I mean, only last week, there's a bus driver up my side, someone who I know very well, travels within my community, that the police had to charge him. Charge him because he had a packed bus load. And I don't know that it is true that buses cannot work. There are some busmen who decided not to work because they feel 5 passengers within the bus is not profitable enough for them. So they agree, well, let me not work. And there are those who are working who, one, as you put it, may not obey the protocol. So even though they say 5, they want to take 10, they want to take 12. And there are some people that even though they know it should be only 5 people, but they want to get to their workplace. They want to get back home from standing in a line by the supermarket for 3 hours. They're tired now. So even though there are 5 people in the bus already, they're still saying to the driver, well, just me, or just take 2 of us more, that's okay. So I know of a driver who got charged by the police for overload. And in that case, overload meaning he had more than 5. And so the law of trying to keep or the idea of trying to save people from themselves, it's absolutely necessary. And it has been so from since mankind was here. God had to save people from themselves in the time of the flood with Noah and the ark, because they were just doing their own thing. And if he did not get Noah to build the ark, everyone would have gone. But there's always something in history to show us where people have to be saved from themselves. And you are so correct about that.
Yeah.
But Grenadians, let us not show the rest of the world that we are. I mean, look at the U.S. We are broadcasting live now in New York through We Know It's Radio. And I mean, New York is one of the hardest hit cities throughout the world. Throughout the world. And can we say the people were careless? Maybe. But I think the whole thing was the authorities did not, as you say, try to save people from themselves early enough. There was not an early enough lockdown. The protocols were not established well enough, and the lawmen to police it. And I mean, sometimes for our own security and for our own survival, why should there have to be police to keep peeping and watching at us for us to do what is correct? It is for our own safety and livelihood and that of our families and friends. We should be glad to do it. The police, when they pass, we should be just waving them in our windows and saying, we're okay here. Rather than the police having to charge people and arrest people and, because they just feel, well, I can do this.
Yesterday I went to Real Value, and I only went to Real Value because I had to. My daughter has an allergy to dairy, so I have to get the almond milk and almond cheese and stuff for her. And on my way to and from Real Value, I saw some very unsettling things. I saw men sitting at shops in clusters, drinking and talking. I saw people standing in clusters, and it made me very uncomfortable. And the person that was with me said, well, why can't police just pass and pick them up? And you know what? I don't believe that the police must patrol and just pick up people on the side of the road when they don't follow the protocols. I believe that people must be responsible and follow the protocols. And this is the reason why we are in this same situation right now. Because at the very beginning, when we were given time to do what we had to do between the hours of 5 to 7 and follow the physical distancing protocols, we found people who were being blatantly disrespectful to that rule. They weren't following it at all. And government and the committee had to make the hard decision to lock us down. And that is why we have such a limited amount of cases and spread within the country. It is because those decisions were made. So now we have people asking, well, why can't we? Well, the reason we can't is because of what we're seeing now with the limited opening. You pass in town and you see a few fellas sitting by the side of the road. They're not about any business, but they're there, and people using this opportunity as an opportunity to socialize and to congregate. And that is a dangerous thing because, as you said, you have 4 people who are asymptomatic. These people could have mingled with anyone. You don't know. We're looking for people who are sick. We're looking for people with a fever and a runny nose and a cough. And that person that is asymptomatic might be standing right behind you.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of you.
Liming and drinking with you.
Might be the shop owner that you buy the beer from.
And we know about 4 because 4 test is positive. How much more could there be?
Exactly.
That are asymptomatic.
Yeah.
That we don't know at all.
Yeah.
That have no signs. So that is why it is in everyone's interest to follow the protocol. I see a lot of people as I move around when I have to with the mask, but they're wearing it on their forehead, underneath their chin, around their neck. The areas that need to be protected are your nose and your mouth and your eyes to a certain extent by you not putting your hands in your eyes. Not underneath your chin, not your forehead. So even though they left home with a mask, they're not wearing it. And people say, but it's uncomfortable. And yes, it is. But this is the new norm. No, this is what we have to do in this time. When it is all cleared and it is okay, we will be informed that there's no need to wear a mask anymore. So people, please, I'm begging of you, please. This is my final appeal. There's enough compelling reasons for us to follow the protocol.
Yeah.
There's enough compelling reasons. The experts, the health people, our COVID-19 team, they have said it repeatedly. Yes, maybe all of us don't listen to radio, or maybe don't have a radio to listen, or we are not around at the time when certain programs are going on. But let us inquire. I mean, yes, there's so many things on Facebook and some of them are fake and not true. But I think we have done enough in terms of appealing to you. We can't stop because there's a responsibility resting on our shoulders. There's a responsibility resting on the shoulders of government and the Ministry of Health and the police and everybody else to do what they're supposed to do what they are paid to do. But you also have a responsibility for your own life. You can't expect me to be the one wanting to save your life time and time again.
Yep.
You have that responsibility. You brought your children in this world and you have a responsibility to stay alive and to help them and take care of them. You have your wife or your girlfriend, you have your grandmother and your mother. So the level of responsibility that you display is not just for you, but it spreads for the people. And at the same time, if you are irresponsible, it's not just for you, but you may pick up the sickness and bring it home to your wife and children, to your granny, who is most vulnerable, to your sick aunt, to your mother who probably have some underlying issues already. So it pays for you to be careful, to obey the protocol, to keep your distances, wear your mask, wash your hands, use your hand sanitizers. Don't touch surfaces and so on and put your hand in your face. Don't be up in people's face talking to them. The new norm is to keep your distance. Tell the girlfriend, well, after COVID, you're going to see her. Don't go about mingling and
I don't know how well the girlfriend and boyfriend part social.
No, well, I don't know, but he has to work. You have to do what? How should I put it? You have to do long line loving now.
But I will tell you this, and I feel it for all of the women out there and the men as well, who have frontline workers as their significant others and their spouses, because we are asking a lot of these people, and not just the frontline workers, but their family members as well. We're asking a lot of them because they're allowing their frontline workers to be on the line for us, and we must be able to be responsible for ourselves. You know, you think I want
and for them,
of course, and for them,
because the more we expose ourselves, the greater the risk is for them. So it means that we have no regard for these people and their family when we act in a certain irresponsible way.
I have a caller on the a caller on the live video who is saying she wants to call. She has been asking to call for the longest while. So caller, she wants to speak to Mr. Bola. So go ahead. I'm going to take your call. You know exactly who you are. I'm waiting for your call. I'll allow this one call before we let Mr. Bola go and let GDB give us a call. All right. But Mr. Bola, you're so right. We have to be responsible. And you know, somebody said to me yesterday, they say, if death or the fear of death cannot make us responsible, then there is absolutely nothing in the world.
Maybe God himself can't.
That is going to be able to help us.
that was well put.
And there is our caller. Good morning, caller.
Ms. Duncan, I'm not the caller you're expecting.
Yes, you are.
You didn't want me to know it's you. Good morning, my dear friend.
Good morning. Y'all doing an awesome job as per usual, and sending that very pertinent message home to our people. Because if we continue to go that way, I'm telling you, we will never be able to ride that tiger that is out there. Yeah. We may not see it, we may see it as a cub at this stage.
Yes.
But we don't want a second wave to come along like a tiger.
Yes.
And if we're not careful, we're going to be up a Google tree, as they would say.
Some people don't know what a Google tree is.
Well, I saw somebody put up one on Facebook the other day, and trust me, it's pickle all the way up.
Right, the younger generation don't know how Google tree, so they probably want to experience it.
Clue what is happening, you know. But I must say, Ms. Duncan, some of the things that you noticed on your way to the supermarket, I myself experienced it. And we have to certainly send that message home in very varying quarters. And the reason why I'm calling you this morning is to say that from this Wednesday night on GIS, I will be hosting a program from 8 to 10. It's part of the whole COVID exercise, reaching out to people and ensuring that we can, bring them up to speed. There's a lot of underlying fear that is out there as well, fear of the unknown, not knowing what is coming tomorrow, and looking at the human and the psychological impact that this thing is having on them, and trying to ease that sort of stressful way that we have to live this new normal. And I just want to say that sometimes we look at it as it happens, and when we try to understand what is really happening here, we recognize that it has a lot to do with our way of life and our culture. Yeah? This is who we are. We are huggy people, we are friendly people, and it becomes a little bit difficult for some of us to grasp the importance of this. Yeah. And, with what you are doing there, it is so important to send the message home and reinforcing it over and over again into the minds of people. Somebody made the comment that the only time Grenadians will wake up, well, a lot of us who woke up the first day and been complying, is probably when we have someone dying with COVID. Lord, hopefully we never have that to deal with. But when you listen to the experience of people who have had it, especially our people in New York, it's harrowing. When you listen to the pain and suffering that they went through to come out of it, and no one knows what will happen to them out of it. Because when you hear about COVID interfering with your heart, your liver, your kidney, some end up on dialysis, They claim they're giving you blood clots in your brain, etc., etc. You don't know what will happen after. And people have to understand, look what has happened to some people after the chikungunya. And that in itself was bad. This is 50 million times worse. From what I can tell you, I have a sister who's a nurse, and every day she's facing dying people. She goes home in the evening, and when she comes back the next day, there's a different person on a respirator on the same bed. She left somebody there the day before. So we have to get it right, you know. And I really appreciate the fact that I heard Mr. Bull, I can't help saying minister, reinforcing. Look at him there with his mask.
Yes.
I like a bed below there and thing, you know. Well covered up. So continue the great job, but just want to remind your listeners that Wednesday night from 8 to 10, we will be on GIS. It's called Distance Makes the Difference.
Great.
Distance Makes the Difference.
Great program.
DMD.
Right.
Designed specifically to talk to people, to talk with people. There'll be call-ins. We'll be reaching out to the diaspora as well. And, you know, really trying to make our people understand the importance of getting over this hurdle together. Together, we can definitely make the difference. All right, folks. So
thank you, Shams. Thank you, Shams. Thank you so very much. We're listening for you on Wednesday. And none of us could have said it better, Duncan.
Of course.
I think I think we need to remind people. You have Prime Minister on Wednesday on this program.
Yes.
And then you have Shoma and her team from Wednesday night.
So
this is where I take my leave, Ms. Duncan. I really would have hoped that I could have stayed longer with you, but you know, I have to keep my physical distance.
No problem. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, listeners, and please, let's just follow the protocols, and I believe all will be well. Continue. All right. Don't forget to let the people know.
Of course.
Wednesday.
That's the big
Dr.
day.
Mitchell in the day, and then
Sherman in the night.
DMD.
In the night.
All right. Take care now.
All right. You too. Yep, guys, it is about that time where we have a representative from the Grenada Development Bank. She's going to be calling in to give us a little insight, especially from our small business owners, entrepreneurs, those of you who have felt the effects of COVID-19 on your small businesses. Now is that time for you to tune in and let's have a chat with the Grenada Development Bank Small Business Fund to see what is available for you, to see what your way out might just be. But guys, we are all in this together. That is the truest statement that has been made in this entire situation. We are all in this together. And it does show that when we comply, we may not agree, we may not like it, but compliance and collaboration, it definitely does make the difference. All right. So we have to do what we have to do to ensure that we stay safe and to ensure that we show gratitude not just to our frontline workers, but to the family members of those workers who at the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of this period that have to face them again, who are at the very front, at the mouth of this situation, you know. And every day these people leave home, we have to wonder how their family members feel. You know, we're never ever going to be able to comprehend how they feel, having to let their loved ones walk out the door to deal with a situation like this. And the most that we can do for them is to comply. All right, is to comply. So if you are listening, which I know that you are, Carla, you can go ahead and call in. All right, so we can begin the conversation. And as Mr. Bola said, on Wednesday, we have none other than our Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. He will be calling in to speak with us to talk about the way forward and what is going to happen to our economy. What plans are being put in place, the realities of this situation on our economy as well. All of these things and more will be discussed here on Wednesday with our Prime Minister. Of course, we may not be able to take calls at that time, but what we can advise is that you post your questions. Start thinking about your questions now and post them to our live video, and we will refer them to him so he can answer them as well. I see somebody here asking, that is, when the NIS is paying unemployment benefits. Now, I have, as I promised, I would have reached out to NIS to get a representative to just call in to give us a little bit of an insight on what is in store. But let me tell you guys something, and I'm definitely not afraid to say this because it's something that needs to be said. Sometimes we don't understand the repercussions of our actions, especially on the Grenadian public, when we play politics. All right, when we play politics. Now, we have a situation where the NIS would have gone to a political platform to relay a message to the people, right? And I have GDB on the line. Just give me 1 second, GDB. Let me just make this point, where we would have had NIS go to a political platform to share information with the people. And the opposition, playing politics, of course, would have made an issue out of it. Speaking of how a government entity must not be used by a political party and so on. When that was not even what was happening. When you have a gathering of people where information can be shared and it needed to be shared, and that was the appropriate time. And when it was done, there was an outcry and an uproar. Now we, of course, see where NIS now has to tread carefully. Because, of course, you don't want to be bashing innocent people for just doing their job, all in the name of politics. So I'm going to continue trying to get a representative from the NIS to just give us a call if they can, to speak on the unemployment benefit, who qualifies, how they qualify, and how you can apply for it. Good morning, Carla.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I am good, and how are you?
Not bad, thank you.
I got carried away. You know, time is of the essence.
That's fine.
And I have to, some points are very important to make. So I know that you are here to speak with us about small business owners. There are a lot of small business owners out there who are wondering what is available to them, and how they can make it through this time. And I know that the Grenada Development Bank has a lot of information for us as it relates to what they can do. So I'll allow you first to say good morning to our people that are listening and viewing.
Okay, great. Good morning to everyone. I am Carla Haywood. I am the External Relations Officer of the Small Business Development Fund. I hope everyone is keeping safe during this time.
All right. And this is a call to all of those listening, tuning in. Please call your friends, call all the small business people you know that have complained during this period, and tell them, tune into 97.5 or tune into 89.5. Or just join us on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram and listen to what they have available. And if they can't, be a good friend and take notes for them so you can share with them after. But Carla, I hear that you guys have this big loan that is available to small business development. So give us a little insight on what that entails and who qualifies for that.
Okay. Well, the Small Business Development Fund, first off, is a government-funded program. Mm-hmm. We are here to help small business owners, whether new persons going into business or existing businesses. Mm-hmm. Before we would have had, before our limit used to be $25,000 was our maximum. But because of our current situation, we have listened to people and we have now increased the limit to $40,000. Mm-hmm. So you can get more money than you could have before. Anybody can qualify. Yes? We have are two, it's a twofold. So you can get a maximum of $40,000 and you also can get an amount of $10,000 unsecured. Mm-hmm. Requirements are basic loan requirements. your IDs, your bills, all this information can be received via a telephone call, Facebook, because our program is also on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, so they can also get that information there as well. And the information can also be retrieved from the Grenada Development Bank, because the fund is homed at the bank.
Oh, okay. Now, I want to ask, for the sake of our viewers and listeners. Now, if I have a business, I have an existing business, I already have a loan with the Grenada Development Bank Small Business Division, and I want to take advantage of what you are now explaining or offering to us. Can I do that, and what are the requirements?
Yes, you can. Existing loan applicants or customers, it's a lot easier for them because they already have history with us. So we know of them, we know their business ties, we know what they're into. So requirements would not be necessary. The only additional information that we would require would be the purpose for the additional funds.
Okay.
Right?
Now,
if I may, sorry to cut you, we also have a reduction in our interest rate. So our interest rate is 6% across the board. However, we have given a 3% interest rate for the key sectors, which would include our farmers, agriculture, fisherfolk, fisheries, and agro-processors. So persons who fit under this sector can get a lower interest rate during this time.
lower than 3?
No, lower than 6.
Oh, okay.
3 is the lowest.
Because I just got to say you're giving away free money.
Yes, I don't want them to think that.
Well, that is actually very, very... I mean, I don't even know how much varies I can use, but it's important for people to understand that this is something that is necessary. Now, this loan, is it to just to sustain the business that has been hit at this time, or is it available for them to help business and they can utilize it to help their family, of course, in terms of paying bills and so on, that they would not have been able to do during this time as a result of COVID-19?
Well, we would look at it on a case-to-case basis because, some small businesses, this is their main source of income. So we would take your request and we would review it. Not everyone will qualify, but once it is that we can assist, we definitely would try our best to assist.
Okay. Now the $10,000, right? That is unsecured. What are the basic requirements for that loan?
Okay, so the basic requirements for that loan would be 2 pieces of valid ID. I know during this time, valid may be difficult, but we will take the 2 pieces of ID that are presented. A utility bill as proof of address, 2 letters of reference. This would be from anyone, a senior public servant, a justice of the peace. And I'd like to note that we would not be taking reference letters from family members.
Right.
Okay? If it is your business is a registered business, we would take a copy of your business registration certificate. A simple business summary will do for us. We're not asking you for a plan.
Right.
If you're employed elsewhere, we would require a job letter or a pay slip.
Right.
Business records, if it is your business is already in operation.
Right.
And we may ask for a bank statement or a credit union statement. Also, most importantly, invoices, billheads, quotations for anything it is that you would need us to assist you with.
Now, one of the most important things that I believe in small business development is advice. For an individual who wants to start a new business, to help in this time, whether it's in agro-processing, whether it's in fishing, whether it's in farming, do you guys provide support in terms of advice on what they should venture into? What is most needed in this time?
We do, to an extent. We would first interview the customer, get an idea of what it is their plan is. If we can give all advice, then we would advise them on the way forward. If not, we do have that relationship with the various ministries, so we can put them on to a representative either from the Ministry of Agriculture, so they would then be able to assist them with technical assistance, startup assistance. So we do have that relationship with the various ministries.
Okay, because that's important, for especially in this time where there are a lot of calls for agriculture being the focus. You want to encourage more people to getting into agriculture,
yes.
But also you want to encourage the farmers, the existing farmers, to develop their skills and to develop their trade to facilitate the needs and not really to add to a glut on the market.
Yes.
Right? So information is definitely important. Now, if I am a business owner or I want to start a new business, my business has not yet been registered, what is available for me?
Oh, the same thing. The business registration does not prohibit you from making an application. So we do it as normal. If the loan is approved, we would ask that during that time, we would like to see the business registered. So we would again assist you with that. GDB also has that service that you can do everything here. So we're trying to make it a one-stop shop.
Wow. That's good, especially in this time. A one-stop shop is needed. Now, I want to speak to I like examples. So let's say, for example, I'm hoping that this doesn't catch you on the spot. Let's say, for example, I want the $10,000 loan unsecured. The 3% interest rate. Let's take, for example, in a ballpark figure, how much exactly that person would be paying back at the end of the month.
It depends on the type of business, because every business generates income faster. So we look at it based on that, as well as the amount that you're applying for. Because you may want the full 10, you may want less than 10. So it's not a standard figure, right? But the amounts are very, very small. I can do a quick calculation. Let me do a quick one. So if you have another question still, you can go ahead.
No, but I want to appeal to the people who are viewing and listening that if you have questions for Ms. Haywood, you can post them on the live video in the comment section, and we will be able to relay those to her. But for those of you who are in the diaspora, that line is still open. So if you want to call, you can call and ask a question. The number to call would be 347-329-3101. So you can call if you're in the diaspora and you have a question, or if you have an overseas line in your local and you want to ask a question, you can do that as well. All right. But Ms. Haywood, I do want to ask, the 3% interest, that would be on the decreasing balance?
Yes.
It's on the decreasing balance. That's even better. It makes me want to start a business and get it over with.
Yes.
But I'm glad that there are opportunities available. I had a call from a gentleman recently who was a small business owner, and he wanted to know what he could do in this time because his business had been affected by the by COVID-19, and I would have referred him to the Grenada Development Bank to get some support for that, because there is support available. And of course, we have to understand that the stimulus package is not going to be able to cover everybody.
That is so true. So we're also working along with them, with the COVID team, for persons who don't qualify by them, they can come to us. So we can see how best we can also assist them.
Okay. Now, I want to ask on behalf of my friends who are entertainers. And me being an entertainer myself, they would have been affected as a result of COVID-19 because they're not, and for most of them it's a business. They do it, that's their job, that's what they do on a regular basis, provide entertainment to hotels and to bars and restaurants and so on. I want to ask if there are opportunities available for them from the Small Business Fund.
Yes, there is. I mean, it's the same, as I said, anything it is that you need assistance with, once it is we can assist, we would review your application. If we can't, then we would try to see who or where it is we can then direct you.
Okay. All right. So they should give you guys a call.
Yes, they can.
You know, because I feel for them, obviously, understanding what they're going through.
Yes,
and of course, we have to understand that government cannot provide for everyone. As much as they would like to, it's a hard pill to swallow because you wanna think that everybody would be covered, but you know, it can't happen. And that's one of the reasons why we always advise that people treat every hobby, treat everything that you do as a business, with a business mindset, because you never know what could happen. So for example, now in this situation, had a lot of them treated it as a business, and not just for entertainers, but for the small fishermen, the small farmers and so on, treated it as a business and paid NIS and so on. They themselves would have qualified for the unemployment benefit, you know. So it does go to show. But I'm happy that there are a lot of opportunities available through the Small Business Development Fund for small business personnel. So what would you advise people to do? Do they call in? Do they come in? And what are your days of operation?
Okay. Before I respond to that, the first question you asked about payment. So if you're looking at the $10,000 request at the 3%, and you have 3 years to pay back, you're paying less than $300 a month.
Wow.
Yes. So you pay less than $300. So as I said, it depends on your length of time, your business, and the amount that you're requesting. Okay? Now, for persons who are making inquiries, you can call in at 459-0773, or you can email at info.sbdf@gmail.com. You can also call the bank at 440-2382, where you can, 2382 would only be operational during work days, which would be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Okay.
Right?
Now, I want to quickly speak about moratoriums. I know financial institutions have been offering moratoriums to people who are vastly affected, not because we have an opportunity to access it means that we should,
Right.
but persons who are gravely affected by it. Does the Small Business Development Fund offer that opportunity to existing loans?
Yes, we do. Presently, lots of requests have come in, and we have worked on them. They have been approved, and we are presently calling our customers to let them know that, yes, it has been approved, and they have nothing to worry about. What we have done is that we have deferred loan payments on either your principal or interest or both for 3 months in the first instance.
Okay.
We've also waived all late fees during this period.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So customers who weren't sure what to do, they can call or they can email at the information that was given.
Right. And of course, to apply for a moratorium must be a joint agreement for people who have co-signatories on their account. It must be the both of them agreeing that this is because it would lengthen the time of payment as well.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. And there are no effects. Now, if you had to advise, right? Because, of course, we know that the interest is on the decreasing balance. Now, if you had to advise, what would be the best route to take in terms of payment of principal, interest, or both? What would that advice be?
Well, again, it depends on your business. Let's say you were heavily impacted. So I was a tax driver, and I the taxis for the hotels, I have no income because I don't have guests at the hotel. So in that case, I would ask for both principal and interest.
Okay.
Right? There are some businesses that are affected, but not heavily. The impact is not that great.
Mm-hmm.
If you can pay your interest only, because interest is accumulated on a daily basis.
Right.
The amounts are very small.
Right.
So you can generate some of them are generating income that can allow them to pay the interest. So I would ask for interest. So
Right.
it depends on the type of business you're into. There are some persons, again, because they're still earning a salary and they think that they want to pay their loan, we would not deter them from not paying. So the choice is yours.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that the small business owners have an opportunity to look at this. And this small business doesn't mean that you are a spice seller or that you are a small farmer only or a fisherman, or it applies to
The hairdressers,
right.
barbers, name it.
nail technicians,
Nail
all of
technicians,
you.
DJs. Yes.
You know, and it's important for them to know that even during this time, we are going to open up eventually, you know, and they are going to need to pump some funding into their business because, one, there has been, I'm not sure for the barbers and the hairdressers because I can guarantee that when we are allowed to go back, the lines would be just as long as the supermarkets.
Yes.
Just as long as a supermarket. So maybe it's an opportunity for someone in a community who wants to open a barbershop. Now is a good time for you to access this funding, you know, and set up a barbershop. Because I believe that there should be a barbershop in every community.
Yes.
You know, take some of the load off of the cities. And let's just spread it out.
Yes.
You know, we find everything in one place. So when it's congested, it's really congested. You know, but if you can allow for barbers in different communities and so on, it would be good. And there are a lot of people with the skill out there to do it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people trained with the skill to do it. And those of you who would have found little craft ideas and found your little talents and your little skills.
Look
and
at all these different masks.
the masks, even these people, and that's a very good point, they also have an opportunity to access this funding to create a business, because we know that these masks will become our new normal for a while.
That's so true.
You know, so maybe it's an opportunity for them to get some funding to pump some monies into making masks. That is something that they can definitely do, you know. And now I know that a lot of people will want their mask to match their outfit. Like
yes.
me. I find I like that already. Their mask to match their outfit, so they may have an opportunity now to make outfits as well. So you know, it's a great opportunity for our seamstresses and tailors and so on. So yes, small business development, that's definitely the way to go. I mean, we've been preaching it from the get-go. You guys have been here before, advocating for small business development, but now it is even more important that people turn their crafts, turn their hobbies. Some of them would have discovered some new skills during this lockdown. You know, treat every small hobby as a business.
Yes.
Because you never know how far it's going to get. All right. Do you have any more information or closing words that you want to leave with us?
No closing. I would just like to give that information again, our contact information. So we could be reached on 459-0773 or email info.sbdf, as in Small Business Development Fund, at gmail.com. We can also be found on Facebook at Small Business Development Fund Grenada.
I have someone on the live asking, what do banks have in store for people who do in shows? But I'm asking, what does that mean? Because I'm not quite sure exactly what he's asking. I think he wants to ask who do shows. So I think we already addressed that.
That's the entertainment.
Entertainment. So those of you who do shows, those of you who have, well, it's a business really, eh? So you do have that opportunity to access funding. It's $40,000 secured.
Yes.
And of course, can you give them again the requirements for a secured loan?
Okay, so the requirements for the secured loan, again, it is specific to your business operation. So where you may have a fisherman, his requirements may be different to a farmer. Fishermen, we would ask for a valuation of your vessel. Most important, a recommendation letter from fisheries, a quotation of marine insurance, a duty-free concession letter from the fisheries department. That's if it is you're purchasing an engine, lines, or accessories, right? For the agriculture, which would entail the farmers, we would also need a recommendation letter from the extension officer, an audit by the Bureau of Standard or the Ministry of Agriculture, where need is, right? Of persons purchasing vehicles, we would also need like ownership certificate, a quotation of insurance, a valuation. Now, when I say purchase of vehicles, persons remember this is a business and not personal loans, right? Most people we see will come and they want a vehicle, and you ask them, well, what is your business? But because they come in for the interest rate, because it's a lower interest rate, but we're trying to help persons with business ideas, right? So those would be the requirements, along with the general requirements, which were listed earlier, which would have been the IDs and the bills. Those are what it is you would have to produce.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the information is quite clear. It seems quite simple. And of course, for those of you shop owners, small business owners, entrepreneurs, of course, this is an opportunity for you to take advantage of what government is offering you. Because as you said, it is a government initiative. Small Business Development Fund is a government initiative to support local entrepreneurs.
Yes, it is. It is. So I want everybody to take this opportunity. Don't let it pass you by. We are here to help you and support your business.
Yep. And at 3%, it makes everybody want to start a business.
Become a farmer, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what can I do for this 3%?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Carla, for taking the time to speak with us. Of course, you know, you guys are always welcome to come and share with the general public the information that you have to keep us informed and to keep us educated.
You're welcome. It's not a problem. We're always here ready for you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
You too, and stay safe.
All right. You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, so guys, you heard it. The opportunities are available for our small business entrepreneurs to come out in your numbers and take advantage of what government has available for you. You know, we often say that not enough is being done, and when the enough is done, we find another reason not to take advantage of it. So it's there. So for the shop owners, the bars who have been, small bars who have been affected, now is an opportunity for you to develop your business. You know, maybe you can turn your small bar now into a small eatery. People are home. People in your community may want to eat a little takeaway food every now and again, you know. They want to cook all the time. I know somebody was asking what is the justification for opening the restaurants for takeout and so on. Because trust me, some people get tired of cooking. I cook 3 times a day. And sometimes I get tired and I want to buy a little takeout. And then you have people in this lockdown who don't know how to cook. I mean, it's not a jab at anybody. There are some people who just never learned the art or probably will never learn the art of cooking. And that's okay, you know, but they also need a little support too. They want to be able to rush out and buy some food, you know. So these opportunities are available for you. $10,000 unsecure at 3% interest. And the interest is on the reducing balance. So the smaller the balance, the smaller the interest. All right? So remember that. Remember that the interest, that 3% is calculated against your balance. So the less your balance, the better for you, right? So let's take advantage of that. It is available for us, and let us do what we can to take advantage of these opportunities. I want to read to you the regulations for this week. Of course, we know that we have entered into another 7-day of mandatory curfew. That would be from the 4th of May to the 12th. And, of course, let me just read it out here for you. So the government of Grenada announces that the curfew, which is due to end on Tuesday, May 5th, at 7 a.m., is now extended to next Tuesday, May 12th at 7. During this period, every person shall remain confined to their place of residence, inclusive of their yard space, to avoid contact outside of their household, except as provided in the regulation or as may be authorized in writing by the Commissioner of Police, acting on the direction of Cabinet. The designated business days for this week are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as consistent with the original schedule, unless notified in advance otherwise. As a continuation, during the assigned business days of this week, the public is not allowed to engage in allowed to engage in outdoor exercise, alone or together with members living under the same roof. Exercise must not exceed an hour and a half per day, between the hours of 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I want to stop here for a minute because there was a lot of clamor about this. There was a lot of clamor about this and people exercising and where would they go to exercise and the beach still being closed. I want us to understand the gravity of the situation that we are faced with. And I want us to understand that we cannot always get our way by complaining. And I feel like there are a lot of people out there who believe that if they go on social media and they rant and they rave, and I've heard people say it, that are going on social media because that is the only way I'm going to get heard. And it's not the best way to do it. Now, the beaches are closed, and they're closed with a very good reason in mind. That some of us will use the opportunity to do what we know we're not supposed to be doing, which is socializing. And if we are trying to fool ourselves to believe otherwise, then we are being naive. We know for a fact that there are going to be people out there who will not follow the protocols. And we have to save them from themselves, but also save others from them. And that is the truth. So we have to realize that there are going to be a lot of people out there who are not going to follow the regulations. You are only allowed to socialize or congregate with people under the same roof as you, which means that you exercise with them. Take a walk and go to a nearby field. Take a walk along the road in your community. But remember that it must only be done with the people who live in your household, under your roof. All right? Please note that all beaches remain closed. And I feel like they need to put in the regulation all beaches and riversides as well. Because to be honest, people will say, well, we're not on the beach. And that is not part of the regulation. Sometimes, So we have to note that all beaches still remain closed. The government of Grenada reminds that when in any public space or vehicle with any other person, everyone must wear a mask or suitable covering over their mouth and nose. The public is again cautioned to exercise physical distancing of at least 6 feet from the next person so as to minimize the spread of COVID-19 virus. Please note that other than the designated business days of the week, there is no further change to the current regulations. As per Section 5 of the regulation, Every establishment or business shall remain closed except for the following: wholesale and retail grocery stores and commercial bakeries from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days, and in the case of grocery stores, through a delivery service on Monday to Thursday and Saturday and Sunday. Suppliers who supply grocery stores as authorized in writing by the Commissioner of Police acting in the direction of Cabinet. Doctors' offices, dentists' offices, opticians, hospitals, medical facilities, and pharmacies and medical supply establishments. Gas stations from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days. Hardware stores from 8 to 5 on designated business days. Hotels, excluding any spas, gyms, discotheques, and restaurants therein. However, such restaurants may offer takeaway or room service, and where a hotel remains open, the hotel's staff shall remain on the premises for the duration of the period under Regulation 2, subsection 1. Hotel employers shall bear the cost of board and lodging for such staff members. Banks, credit unions, and money services, business hours from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on designated business days. Commercial ports and related businesses from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days, subject to the variation by ports authorities. Airports, subject to Regulation 10, subsection 1A. Commercial courier flights as authorized by the airport authority. Drive-through and takeaway services. Registered bona fide fishermen, farmers, and butchers engaged in their business during designated business days. Veterinarians engaged in their trade. Accountants, insurance companies, businesses licensed to provide security guard services, manufacturers and suppliers of personal protective equipment and hand sanitization products, works of construction only in the case of urgent plumbing, electrical, roof repairs, and other emergency repairs to a business or a home. The Inland Revenue Division on designated business days, and such other businesses or undertakings as may be specifically exempted in writing by the Commissioner of Police acting on the direction of Cabinet. So those are the regulations for the period May 5th to 12th. All right, so please adhere to the regulation. Now, we're going to open the lines. We only have a few minutes left, but we're going to open the lines to take a few calls. I know that the nutmeg and cocoa farmers, they have now been granted the opportunity. Let me see here. I'm just going to pull up the guidelines and the schedule, because there is a schedule that they must work by for our farmers. All right. So purchasing of wet cocoa on the following days: Monday, May 4th, Mount Horn, Carlton, and Carriacou. On Wednesday, the 6th of May, Pointsfield, Diamond, and Bellevue. Now, purchasing of dry cocoa on the following days: Friday, May 8th, Certes. Farmers are asked to wear masks and appropriate face coverings. Farmers not wearing masks or appropriate face coverings will not be admitted. Farmers are also asked to walk with their umbrellas. All right. I guess that is to protect you from the heat of the sun. And of course, for our nutmeg farmers, St. Patrick's, Hermitage, and Marley receiving stations. Monday, that's today, 4th of May, letters A through F. On Wednesday, it's G to M. On Friday, it is N to Z. And the hours for buying for all of the days would be 8 to 3, except for the case of St. George, which would be from 8 to 12. For St. Andrew, it's Grenville, A to F on Monday, Wednesday, G to M, Friday, N to Z. St. John, it's going to be in Guave. The same schedule applies, A to F on Monday, G to M on Wednesday, and N to Z on Friday. St. David's, it's going to be Tebayed, and it's A to J on Monday and K to Z on Friday. So there will be no buying or selling of nutmeg on Wednesday in St. David. And of course for St. George, it is only on Wednesday, A to Z, from 8 to 12. So I hope that the nutmeg farmers and of course the cocoa farmers are taking note. There has been a lot of query as to when they would be able to ply their trade. And of course, we have to act on abundance of caution. We have to ensure that the policies that we put in place protect our farmers and protect the persons working at those receiving stations as well. All right, so those are your days to ply your trade. Please take advantage of them and remember the protocols to wear your mask and to also walk with your umbrella and water. It's not in the regulation, but it's important to note. Please walk with your water. I know that's one of the things that we often forget because we feel like we're going out only for a little while, but so we don't have to. You don't know what the length of the line is going to be like. You don't know how long you may be there. So it is important to walk with your water and have something to eat maybe before you leave. Put on your mask, have your hand sanitizers available, and walk with your umbrellas. All right, so the lines are open, guys. You can call to contribute to the conversation. The number to call is 440-7377 for local calls, 440-7377 for WhatsApp messages, and of course 329-3101. And please keep in mind that on Wednesday we have our Honorable Prime Minister who is going to be speaking with us here through this medium to discuss the way forward, to discuss the effects of the economy. But not only that, tomorrow we are hoping to have a representative from the Ministry of Finance who will be speaking to us on the effects that the COVID-19 has had on the collection of revenue in our country and what that means for us in Grenada. But in addition to that, they will be making statements on the stimulus package because as we understand it, hundreds of people have received benefits from the stimulus package so far. We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan. Good morning to Grenada.
Good morning.
I have, before I make a statement, I have a question that I think maybe to some extent you might be able to answer. Now, in the first instance of the emergency, the medical emergency, I would say, the government would have had, the Governor General would have declared a state of emergency. I think it was for 19 days or whatever it is, right?
Right.
In your mind, do you think that it is right for an employer to call in their employees into their office and say to them, well, because of this lockdown, there would be no vacation days for you because normally, person would have had vacation maybe coming up later in the year or what. But would it be right for an employer to say to their employees that these 19 days are counted as their vacation days?
Well, I want to tread carefully with this question because we expect business owners to be responsible in their response to COVID-19. We know, of course, that all businesses would not be able to sustain their workers for the full 90 days. However, one of the regulations or one of the requirements or requests during that time made by government would have been to allow workers to treat that first period as vacation. Of course, paid vacation days, because what you would see is that there would be an extended period of lockdown. Right? Now, being fair to a business owner, if you don't give your workers their vacation and you have an extended period of lockdown, when business open, you can't really expect an employee to come and apply for vacation again. I mean, that would be irresponsible because you are now going to have to try to catch up for the revenue that you would not have been making as a result of the lockdown, but you still had to pay your employees. Now, employees who receive paid vacation for the entire 3 months that they would be on lockdown, I would think that they would be happy because, one, it's paid and it's vacation. But and then there are also employees who only have 2 weeks vacation inside. You know, they would have to take their 2 weeks and their employer may not be able to maintain them for the next maybe 2 months. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration. But yes, it was advised that employers do consider vacation days as part of the lockdown period to kind of cushion the blow, because you will have a situation after this is over where workers will be required to go back to work. And you cannot have, and it would really be unfair to ask your employee. You see, that's why consideration must be given and flexibility must be given on all ends, in every sector. Because you have to understand that this is a period where your boss was not making revenue. So now he would need all hands on deck to really help build that business. You know, and as an employee, and I think a lot of employees must take that into consideration as well. You know, a lot of people they go to work because they want to make some money. That may be the case.
Yes.
But sometimes as employees, we must understand that when a business thrives, when a business builds, what we contribute to a business to help it grow, it benefits us as well. And I mean, that is for if your employer is honest, because you know there are cases where employers you're working real hard and the business growing and only the employer that is growing, and I believe that it must be equal across the board, right? But it is important for workers, employees to understand that when you contribute to the growth and development of a business, when you don't treat it as just another job, when you help that business to grow and that business to prosper, it does benefit you as well. So you kind of have to look at it in that context. Not everybody would feel the same way, but that is basically a context you have to look at it.
Well, the way you brought it across would have bring a little bit more clarity in my mind, because I would have known about a certain entity in Grenada which would have done that. And I think the union would have had to meet them and stuff, but that never transpired. But that's that. My last question, and I'm going to run. I would like to know what is the logic really in opening up hardware stores, but you don't have construction workers out. Because hardware stores rely on construction workers, construction companies, and you opening up an hardware store. There is no construction at this time because certain jobs are open. From the police or the cabinet's point of view, I would like to know what's the logic in that. Maybe they could rethink it. Because to me, and this is my personal opinion, it doesn't make sense to just open up hardware stores and then you don't have construction work. So that's it. So have a good day, my dear.
You too. Now, I can't give the point of view of the cabinets, of course, but I can give my point of view on why I think hardware stores were open. Now, you do have a number of businesses that are still operating. Those businesses had to make adjustments to their customer service delivery in order to function. Now, they would need board, they would need plexiglass, they would need nails, they would need screws, and all of these things. So that was one of the initial reasons, I would believe, for opening the hardware stores. But on top of that, you also have people who are at home. And for this long period of time, they would now have an opportunity to do a lot of the things that they would like to do on their houses. Maybe they'd like to fix a bed, fix a window, they'd like to install some new cabinets, cupboards, whatever it may be, and they have an opportunity to do that. A lot of little renovations here and there. So the opening up of hardware stores really is to facilitate that need. You don't want people sitting at home and they're bored and have nothing to do, and there's so much things that can be done around the house that they themselves can do, and hardware stores are all closed. But initially, I believe that the reason for opening the hardware stores was to facilitate renovations to businesses that had to open to the public, like the banks and the credit unions and the different little offices that had to open for payments. They would have to make certain adjustments to their customer service section. And in order to do that, they need supplies, right? So that would have been one of the reasons. Now, as it relates to general construction, I know that has been one of the main questions on a lot of people's minds. And, it's funny because as soon as you hear of a little business opening, you hear of banks opening, now everybody wants to know, well, what about the farmers? Farmers open, now everybody wants to know, what about construction? And as soon as construction open, everybody gonna want to know, what about the stores in town where they need to buy their little clothes and their little household items and so on. And it's a trend. That's how, people are. They're going to ask for things because at the time they ask for it, they feel that there is a need. But we also have to remember that if we're asking for all of that, we're basically asking for them to open the country. And are we really ready for a full opening? Are we really ready to see people moving about? But the more important question is, are we going to be responsible with the opportunities that have been afforded to us? So far in the 3 days that have been opening, where we have seen opening of grocery stores and so on, people have not been responsible, to be honest. You still see people going to little shops. You still see little what we refer to as in Grenada as rum shops. You still see those opening. You still see partners congregating on the side of the road and under a tree. You still see these things. So the biggest question here is, we can ask for more leniency. Some people are asking for it. Some people are not, like me. I really don't want any more leniency, to be honest. It makes me nervous because we have to take into consideration how the virus operates and the unpredictability of it and how it can just change overnight. Look at the case of St. Lucia, who was rejoicing over the fact that they would have had full recovery, and now they're at 2 cases. Look at St. Vincent, who had 1 case for a long time. They would have announced full recovery. Now they're at about 14 cases. So we have to take all of these things into consideration. But the biggest question is, with all that we want, with all of the leniencies that we are asking for, with all of the restrictions that we want lifted, are we going to be responsible as Grenadians? Given that we don't know if there will be a resurgence of the virus. We don't know who is walking around asymptomatic. We are never going to be able to test the whole population, and the Ministry of Health has been asking for the longest period of time for us to ensure that if we know someone that has symptoms of the virus, or we ourselves have symptoms of the virus, they've been asking that you call your health facilities to get tested. That may be all well and good, but I'm feeling fine today. What is to say that I'm not an asymptomatic carrier of the virus? So all of these things need to be taken into consideration. So in asking for more, we need to ask ourselves, are we going to be responsible? If we open up the public sector for buses to run, then are the buses going to be responsible? Are they going to follow the regulations? Are they going to be okay with taking 5 people at a time? And are Grenadians going to be patient enough to wait for the next bus, even though we know that 5 people? So, we have to take these things into consideration. And while I feel it for the general population of Grenada. I know that it's difficult. I know that not being able to socialize for a lot of people is really affecting their psyche, and I sympathize with them. I cannot relate to that because I love to be home. I don't mind being by myself. I always find things that would keep my mind active. And if I can't find something to keep me active, I go in and sleep. But that's just me. And there are a lot of people who can't relate to that. And I can't relate to how they're feeling as well. So I sympathize with them. But at the same time, we have to be responsible. You know, the reason we don't have people dying is it's not because the virus isn't killing nobody. That's not why. The reason we don't have people dying is because we have a plan in place that dealt with this thing from the very beginning. We were one of the first countries in the region to shut our borders. We still have countries in the region whose borders have not yet been shut. You know, we very early put restrictions in place to safeguard our elderly. Very early, we put restrictions in place to safeguard the people we know have underlying conditions. And that's why our population has not seen any death so far. We want to keep it that way. Don't know how long we're going to be able to do that. But as long as we can do it, let's try. Let's not just ask for the opening up and the freeing up of the restrictions because we feel like we're confined. Let's not do that. Let's ask for it because it is an absolute necessity and because we know that we are going to comply and we know that we are going to follow the protocols that have been put in place for our safety. Let's do it with that reasoning in mind. And then if that's the case, then maybe we can see a little bit more easing of the protocols. But so far, we are not really giving the committee and giving the Ministry of Health and giving the government any good reason to ease the protocols because we have not been following them some of us. I've been following. And I know a lot of people who have been from the very beginning following the protocols, and kudos to you guys. But there are a lot of people out there who aren't. And they are the people who are putting us at risk. And they are the people who have us still in this situation where we cannot feel comfortable enough to ease the restrictions a little bit more. So let's take that into consideration. We want to ease the restrictions, but the question we have to ask is, if we are given the opportunity, will we be responsible with it? Will we be responsible with it? Would we take that opportunity to go and sit under a mango tree and lime? Would we take that opportunity to go by the river and cook? Would we take that opportunity to go and congregate and have house parties? These are all the questions that we need to ask. We're going to take this last call for the morning. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Miss Duncan.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
How are everything? I'm okay, man.
I'm good.
Yeah, Miss Duncan, you see, one thing that people don't analyze. Yes, we want the government to open totally. But see, when we just lack the ill discipline and we don't obey, we make it, we come like we stretch the lockdown. So if you want, we call him upon the government to open, we have to obey the guidelines. You see, when we obey the guidelines, right, and that's only how we could quench the spread of this coronavirus. But see, if we call him for to open and we don't obey the guidelines, what is going to start happening? You're going to have a longer term of lockdown. So yes, you call it, but all what we government asking for, we agree to do, to obey the guideline of the World Health Organization, not the greater organization, but this is a World Health Organization guideline we have to obey. And if you want to open faster, we have to obey the protocol that the World Health Organization set down. Because many people want to go online, go and socialize. Like we go to a doctor to get medication, try to recover from the sickness. But then what happens? You may take half of a tablet, and then you're feeling better, you stop taking rest. But you don't totally recover.
Yeah.
So you see, you have to obey the instruction, what the World Health Organization give you. It's not a greater organization, it's a World Health thing.
Yeah.
And this guideline will save life. What if we disobey? Because say whosoever disobey shall live, whosoever obey shall live, whosoever disobey shall face the consequence. And that consequence is not right. So I will call upon the Grenadian people to let us obey. Once you obey the instruction of the World Health Organization, we could get a faster opening. But once we disobey, that lockdown will be extended more and more.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Duncan, have our own food. God bless you.
You too, caller. Yep, hit the nail on the head. We are responsible for how long we stay under this thing, eh? The more we disobey the guidelines and the policies that have been put in place to protect us, the government would have no choice but to keep extending those lockdown protocols. We can't blame them. They have a duty to the entire Grenadian public to keep us safe. And if that entails saving us from ourselves by keeping us confined to our homes, then so be it. But we have, and we don't understand that, we have the most control over this quarantine if we adhere to the protocols that have been put in place. And we can be scot-free sooner than we think. Guys, it's always a pleasure being here with you. In whatever you do and whatever you say, be safe and be secure. I always want to be talking with you and never about you. Remember, on Wednesday, we have our Honorable Prime Minister joining us at 10:30 to talk about the economy and the way forward. And tomorrow, we have a representative from our Ministry of Finance who will be speaking to us on the stimulus package with which hundreds of Grenadians have already benefited. And also the effects of the COVID-19 on the collection of revenue for our country and what this means for our economy. Guys, please do enjoy the remainder of your day and stay safe.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.